Hello everybody, I'm SJM and welcome to Path of Exile. A little bit of a change of pace for my channel. I've been doing some Minecraft content up until now, but Path of Exile is technically my main game, although I'm mostly a variety type gamer. So definitely we'll be seeing some other changes of games in the future, but for now we will be diving into Path of Exile because the new league is starting this week. As you can see on the screen there, I am currently just little over 3 days, or a little under 4 days, I guess is the more technical term there, till the new league starts, which is also one of the best times for newer players to get their feet into the pool, so to speak. So I'm going to be doing a series. I am myself a very intermediate Path of Exile player. I do not know the most out there. I do quite a bit of research, and then so much of it just goes straight over my head, and there's no chance that I have any opportunity to do half of the stuff that I do read out there on, you know, making currency or making powerful builds myself or crafting, etc., etc. So I wanted to do something to help more basic players or players with more limited time to play, because myself, I only play approximately, 2 hours a day to 15 hours in a week, maybe, let's say. And getting through Path of Exile and getting my enjoyment out of it, which for me is setting a goal at the beginning of the league and either getting there or surpassing it each time, which has to be further than the league before. I've been playing Path of Exile since, not even sure, Betrayal League, so that's way back. It was before 3.0 for sure. I definitely played in 2 point something at the very beginning, so I believe Betrayal was my very first league that I played in, which is quite a while ago, but I haven't played every single league since then, but I have played in the past 6 leagues in a row for sure, definitely since Synthesis, and I think even maybe the one before that, which I forget off the top of my head. So I only typically play about one character per league, and usually, at one point, my goal was just to get to the end of the game. And then after that, it was, okay, well, let's get from white maps to yellow maps. And then after that, it was, let's get to red maps. And then after that, I think they started bringing out the Conquerors. And then I got set back a little because we couldn't beat Cyrus. And and so on and so forth. So my personal goal for last league was to beat Cyrus, which I did do. So this league, it will be getting to Shaper and or Elder and beating those guys. Not looking to do Uber Elder by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely be looking to get, taking the next step along those end game type bosses. So in my first episode here, I wanted to aim this a little bit towards, more towards the beginners there on what you need to do prior to getting into the league if you are going to start playing an Ultimatum. I always suggest following somebody else's build guide. It is perfectly feasible for you to try making your own character and doing your own thing. However, the overwhelmingness of the skill tree and the variety of skills that are out there and supports for those skills, I wish you the best of luck, and you may find success in it because you are a lot better gamer than I am. But myself, I did try it there a couple of different times, and it just felt like right flat on its face. Like, I'm talking not even getting out of the third act of the storyline, never mind getting to the end game. So with that in mind, I'm going to present a few sources. So for the very, very beginners, A person named Zizaran on YouTube does amazing content, and just before the league starts, he does a beginner and intermediate friendly Path of Exile University series. So I'll leave a link in the description for you to his channel where you can find that content and you can get diving in there. For the new players, definitely you must check it out, and for the intermediate players, it's not a bad thing to go over as well, since you can always learn something in there that maybe you knew from before and had forgotten because it was above your head at the time you found it out, or something that you do know about but want to explore even further. Then he'll also have some resources for you to go check out from there as well. Zizaran also does some builds at the beginning of the league. He hasn't released any of those videos just yet. The balance manifesto just came out today, so we're finally getting an idea of what skills GGG were looking at tweaking this time around. As usual, it's a whole bunch of nerfs. Not too much is getting buffed, so some of the top builds that are out there are getting scaled back a little bit just to bring them in line with what their vision is. And I think they're trying to kind of gear or tone down the power level of Path of Exile in its entirety with the you know, not impending, but with the upcoming Path of Exile 2 coming out next year. They're trying to, you know, tone everything down a little bit so that they can bring it back to where they foresee it going. So for new players looking for guides to follow for the game, my first one that I found that actually really got me solidly sold on Path of Exile and understanding exactly how to play the game, how to build the character, how to gear your character, and all of that stuff was Enki's Archwitch. I'll leave a link for this page itself in the below, but this is on the official Path of Exile forums. And just all in out, this is like the gold status, the top tier method and layout, and just pretty much the best of the guides out there. It's not the best of the best builds, so if you're looking for the best of the best builds, I'm not one to point you in that direction, but this is a very beginner friendly lightning caster build. And one of the reasons why this is so great is because it goes into a whole lot of depth. Now I'll just scroll down to the bottom of the post. Now you can see that there isn't really a whole lot in there because it's all covered in spoiler tags. So whenever you need to find something quickly, you can just scroll down and be like, oh, what gems do I need? Oh, okay, here's the gem setup page. Then you can open the spoilers and you can see these are the gems he uses, and he gives his explanation and reasoning for all of them there. And then if you want, you know, say you're a little bit more advanced and you want to get into some of the alternative quality gems, he'll give you your options there as well. So on and so forth for gears, jewelries, clusters, mapping, map mods. So this is the end game stuff down here. Your gear is all in there, your passive tree. So we'll just open this up here. Actually, we'll go back up here for the before you start section. So this is, you know, lots of super interesting or super informative stuff in here. For the new players, it's all in there. And then of course in the spoiler here, the one thing that you will need if you're going to be following other people's guides is the Path of Building community fork. So he's got the link in there on where to go to download it, to put it on your PC. And then he's got the paste bin. So you just copy this link in when you want to open up a new build. And I'll show you that in a moment there. Also, and it'll little bit of information on how to get there for Path of Building and all of that good stuff in there as well. So Enki's Archwitch, great beginner guide. It got me to my red maps for the first time in there. It got me to my first Cyrus, although I was never able to beat him with the build because it's at the time 3.9. It was a little bit lacking in damage, just the way it was set up. But with the new Arc, he's going with Archmage now, so there's a lot more power in the build, I think, in my opinion. I haven't played it since then, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's definitely it. Another one of my favorite sources for newer slash intermediate players for builds, his name is Big Duck, so I'll link his channel below as well. He has just started releasing his league starter builds this week, so you'll be able to see a few of them there. And then his the one he released today is the Creeping Frost Occultist, another witch build. This one is the Enki's is a elementalist witch, and then Big Ducks goes with an occultist. So I've played a lot of witches in my time and a lot of shadow characters as well. So I'm kind of branching out this league, going with a different one. But yeah, just bring those up for you here. So the reason why I like Big Ducks' builds is he spends a lot of time and effort into building his, or into making a very competent path of building. So this is the path of building itself. This is a blank sheet. So this is the skill tree here, and then there's an item or there's different tabs for the skills that you use, the items on your character. This one is a little bit more advanced, but if you want to start tweaking with all the calculations, you have those over there. There's a section for notes about the build, which is one of the things that Big Ducks does really well, is that he does put notes in there, as well as in the tree itself. You can actually put multiple trees into one path of building, and this is great for when you're leveling your character. And in specifically, a lot of good builds are transitional. So the skills and the gems that you use at low level might not be the skills and gems of the main point of the build. And that's just because a lot of skills you don't get until later on, like Act 3, Act 4, and especially some of the supports that make skills good you don't get until later on. So having different skills and trees there are especially important. So what we'll just do is we'll just click this back here. This is where all the builds are saved, and we'll look at the build that I played last, or this most recently, which is 3.13, which is a Blade Vortex build based around poison. So here we have the level 90 endgame character tree that Big Ducks had suggested, and it's got everything laid out where all of your points go there. The skills and stuff doesn't change so much with the leveling, but there's got in here from 1 to 37, you're going to be using this skill with these 3 supports in order of preference. So if you only have a 3 link, then you're only using Pierce and Void Manipulation. Or if you don't have access to Pierce or Void Manipulation, then you can slap Vicious Projectiles in there as well. Toxic Rain, which you use for bosses and hard mobs, and then your auras. And then once you get up to 38, you do start using Blade Vortex, but it'll be a little bit different setup than in the end game, because you need the poison support to start, and then eventually later on you'll get a higher chance to poison with some other equipment and other sources, such as gems and such. And then Plague Bearer, which is another one of your clear skills, and then a couple of different auras come into play when you get up to that, level 38 or Act 4 threshold, where you can finally get that Unleash gem, which really makes Blade Vortex playable. And then of course you get to the end game with all of the skills lined up there for you, and one of the harder things is obviously getting all of the items, but another thing that he does in here is he'll give you a set up different item sets. So if you're playing super budget, like you don't make a lot of money, then there's some more items which are a little less costly here. And the thing to note there is that he's not giving you an exact item. It's just a quote-unquote budget ring, and you just need to look at the stats that are on it and get as close as you can to those kinds of stats there. Most importantly, obviously, getting your resistances and as much life as you can. So then I'll just go back to the tree here, and I'll just show you. So leveling from level 1 to level 35, this gives you an idea of where you're going to start putting your points at the beginning of the game, instead of, you know, if you're just looking at the full tree, like the end game character tree, like, do I want to go out and get this stuff first because this is a whole bunch of life out there? Do I want to get that? Or do I want to go down here for this powerful keystone down here? Like, where do I want to go first? And that's the one thing that these different leveling trees give you. So the first few levels, you know, first 3 acts or so, you'll be getting all of these points. And then for the next couple of acts, this is where you're going to be heading next. Getting, you know, rounding out the last part of the campaign, this is where you're going to end up. And then going to endgame character, we add in the cluster jewel here with those points there. And then if you want to go into an level 100 character, actually this one's only level 95. This shows you where you're going to put those extra few points there. Also, it'll tell you in your ascendancy here, so from level 1 to 35, where you want to put your first ascendancy point, and so on and so forth. Second one, etc., etc. So then the build that I'll be playing for this next league will be Blade Fall / Blade Blast. So again, he's got the exact same kind of stuff going on in here. Level 1 to 35, you start and you go this way. 36 to 55, you just start stretching out this way and that way. And then we'll actually see that this one actually transitions from looking like this at the end of the campaign over to this when you've got some more of the advanced items and you've made some money. So you've got some different jewels in there that allow you to do a couple of different things, more cluster jewel setups up there, and so on and so forth. And once again, just to point out that he puts a whole bunch of information in the notes here, which is absolutely wonderful. So wherever you get your builds from, you don't have to go to Big Ducks for them. You can, because he doesn't do like all the different kinds of builds that are out there, and maybe you want to do something that he doesn't cover or something that Zizaran doesn't cover, you're more than welcome to go back with them. But helping you understand the builds, all these little things really help. Otherwise, you're going to be getting something that looks like this, right? This is just my character as it was back in 3.12. Yeah, 3.12, I played the Creeping Frost Occultist. And, you know, you're not going to get any different trees on showing you how to level. You're not getting these notes telling you, you know, tips and tricks. You're just going to get your basic skills list of how this character was set up at the end game, or at the point when I took this snapshot of it. And a lot of the builds out there do this kind of thing, and then you're left to figure it all out for yourself. And that's one of the biggest hurdles in going from the beginner level to, or beginner / starting intermediate, into the intermediate / intermediate advanced. So it's definitely having a good build guide in itself, like Enki's Arc Witch. So, and following the guide along by that, and then the next step is actually having the decent path of building as well, so that'll give you a lot of hints on where to go. with building your character and progressing through to where you want to get to, whether that's just finishing the campaign itself and putting it down, or getting further and further into some of the end game, the massive amount of end game that this game has. Like the campaign itself it's not even the tip of the iceberg, it's the snowflake on the top of the tip of the iceberg, as far as I'm concerned. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and ask any questions you want answered below. I'll be continuing this series. Might not be an everyday thing at the start, but once I will get into doing my build and pointing out more things as I'm going through the game itself, because that's a little bit easier, more logical way to do it. You're more than happy to answer those, any questions that you have there. I do appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.